Dolphins fans, thank you for checking out the channel. I appreciate it. Each and every one of you, I appreciate you for coming in and listening to little old me talk about this Miami Dolphins football team. Today, like I did last time when I had a guest, I'm not going to talk as much. This time, I want to let somebody else talk. If you guys have ever heard of the channel, Phins Forecast, you know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't heard of them, go on YouTube, search Phins Forecast, and go check those guys out. It's a good group of guys. They're very knowledgeable. It's a great channel. They got started about 10 or 11 months ago, kind of like me. So they're a younger channel. They could use your support. It's well worth the listen and the watch when you guys go and check them out. Please do so. Today I have Josh from Phins Forecast coming onto the channel, and we're going to talk about some things. It was a fantastic conversation. I ended up wanting to have about an hour or so of a conversation with him, and we ended up going for about an hour and 40 minutes. So it's a good watch. We talked about a lot of things. I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I did. It was a fantastic conversation. Josh is a wonderful dude, and he knows what he's talking about. So enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, I have Josh with Phins Forecast with me today. He was kind enough to come join us. I've gotten to go over and give a few guest spots on his show with his boys over there, and always was a great time. Very excited to have him here as my second guest that I've ever had on this channel. Josh, welcome to the program. Thanks for coming.
Hey man, pleasure's all mine. I appreciate the invite, and cannot wait to get to talk about Dolphins to your fan base and with you, man. I'm super pumped.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to be taking care of a little bit of housekeeping here. Then we're going to get into some basic rankings of every position room on this team. And at the end, we're going to touch on the team as a whole, where we are, how we think we're looking. We're going to do a basic outlook, and then we're going to get into the expectations that we might have individually for this season.
Let's go.
Yeah. Okay. So very first thing right off the bat, I got to get the Reek speak out of the way.
Oh, boy.
Yep, got to just touch on him because apparently he knows when I'm going to do a video, and I have to cover him every single time. I think that's his goal. People saw the picture on Instagram and on Twitter. Tyreek Hill illustrating that he has had his second surgery on his wrist. This surgery, from what everybody is saying, this was just a slight arthroscopic type surgery, just to remove some pins and some screws in his wrist. They did say at the beginning of the year, or the end of the year last year, that he would be ready to go for the season. However, a surgery now, I think we can pretty much just guarantee that he's not going to be doing anything until training camp. What do you think there?
Yeah, I think it seemed like a cleanup surgery, right? Like you said, that's what happens when you have major-ish surgery, right? I think he might be milking it a little more, if I'm being completely candid. He seems the type. I'm not saying that is I am not plugged in by any stretch, but so I think obviously he probably won't be at the OTAs and stuff like that, like if he's doing anything at all, it won't be anything serious.
Yeah.
But hopefully he's back in time to kind of shake the rust off with Tua and the team, assuming he's still with the team, which can be a whole larger conversation should you choose to accept.
Well, we've got a little bit to talk about here before we move on from Tyreek here.
Perfect.
The whole situation with Tyreek, and a strange thing happened. I was watching Dolphins Collective with Alan Poupart and TD Phins talk and Dudley Do Wrong, and I noticed that somebody on that, now I'm going to be very cryptic about what I'm saying here, but one of them mentioned that Tyreek and Tua are having a little bit of a tiff, that they're not getting along right now.
Makes
Obviously, yeah, makes total sense to me too. Obviously, he has some info. It's Omar Kelly, by the way. I'll say his name. He
Subtle.
said he said that there's somebody there told him that works in the building that there's a definite disconnect between Tua and Tyreek Hill right now. Now, the kicker about all this is about 4 weeks ago. I know this sounds crazy with my little 260-something subscriber channel, but on Twitter earlier this year, I met somebody by commenting on one of Tyreek Hill's posts, and I got a private message from someone who said, in reply to my comment and private message, he said, "You are more right than most people think you probably are about this." I'm not going to say his name. You
got to protect your sources, brother. But you got to protect your sources.
He did say at that point that Tua and Tyreek Hill were not getting along, and in fact, Tua was pretty upset with him. And I didn't really think much of it until I saw Omar Kelly say the exact same thing. And sure enough, I went and messaged him immediately on Twitter again, and I was like, "Hey, you were right. Somebody else is saying it now. So can I throw your name out there?" And he goes, "No, don't throw my name out there."
No. But you guard your sources like they're your children.
Right.
Trust me on that.
So apparently the whole thing stems from him quitting in that game.
Of course it does.
And
read the tea leaves.
Yeah. We both said, hey, he screwed up, and he probably pissed off a lot of people on the team. This confirms that. And Tua, say what you want about him, Tua's not a quitter.
Yeah.
And this could be, number one, I think that, and I'll ask your thoughts on this too, but number one, good for Tua. I'm glad he's mad at him. You can still get along with a coworker and not like what they're about. I think that this is going to be a fine line that Tua is going to have to learn to walk this season with Tyreek, because if they're still at this point, after months, of this happening, if they're still not quite getting along, I feel like it might not be repaired or repairable even in time for the season to start. So I'm curious what you think about all this and this reported disconnect between Tua and Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, honestly, for me, I think it all stemmed, at least for me, it all stemmed from Teron Armstead's comment on national media, right? Where he said, there needs to be some work done on Tyreek's end when it comes, because of the choices that he made, right? When he took himself out of the game. And I don't think TA is the type of player to start stuff. I don't think he's the type of player to wax poetic to try to get clicks or views or anything like that. I mean, this man knows what he's talking about. He's been in that locker room for many years. He is friends with Tua. He is friends with Tyreek. He is friends with other players. And when he comes out and says something, you have to believe it. You take it for face value. And I think that was very telling that he chose to act. It wasn't prompted. It wasn't a question. This was him volunteering the information. So that right there, my spidey senses went nuts, right? I was like, oh boy, here we go. Going into a season where this is, in one way or another, Tyreek Hill's last season on the team, right? Whether it's he stays the season and we let him go because there's no way on earth that at that point he'll be close to 33 at the end of the season. Is worth, was it $53 million or whatever the heck it is for his next year's cap hit, where we can release him and save I think close to 25 mil. I mean, we still owe him a buttload of money, but go be a nutcase somewhere else. But yeah, to your point, I'm stoked that Tua, I liked that Tua, seemingly, again, we're not really plugged in, right? We're not in the locker rooms. We're not in the room. So we're going by what we hear and what we know and who we talk to. And I've talked to a few people that are plugged in as well, who I actively protect my sources, if you will, for lack of a better term. And you are correct. There is a beef. There is a beef there, and it is a deep one, and it's serious, because Tua is a guy that's not only highly religious and very heavy in his faith, but he's also team oriented. He's a team captain. These are his brothers. These are his family. That is his culture. Yep. And if you quit on him, there's no three chances. Mm-hmm. So it will be very interesting to see what happens. It really will. How this works out. What if the team has to step in, and what they end up doing because of this, it'll be really interesting.
Yeah. And a lot of people, you touched on the Polynesian heritage thing. Polynesians, if any of you who are watching this don't know any Polynesians, if you meet one within 5 minutes, you're going to know every family member, every extended family member. You're going to know everything about their family, because family is the most important thing to the Polynesian culture. And extended family, and even family like a football team family to us. He's on board with all of that. So I don't know if this is something that I see Tua being able to get past. I see him being able to play with Tyreek, but
yeah, I mean, he's a professional, right? I mean, if Tyreek's on the team and there can be a discussion and an argument made that is Tyreek Hill really the number one receiver on this team at this point in time, after 2 wrist surgeries, after a bunch of off the field issues, after having more kids than he did touchdowns last season, and all the antics that he has, and his big girl fetish that he came out with. I mean, there's all kind. I mean, hey, as a streamer, as a media guy, the content with Tyreek is gold. Yeah. Right. But as a Miami Dolphins fan, it's exhausting. And you have to believe that if we are feeling this far removed, 17 steps removed from the actual team and the players and the people, you have to believe that the players are sitting there like, dude, can you just shut your mouth, please, and play football? You're a bajillionaire. You're the fastest guy on the planet. You're recognizable everywhere. Just shut up and play ball.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And my contact, he said that Tyreek has actually definitely apologized to Tua, but he said that Tua did not accept the apology.
I believe it.
Yeah, if that ever comes out to be true, like I said, this guy has been right about 2 other little bits of information that he threw my way through the kindness of his heart, and he was right about both of those. So I'm going to take him at face value with what he said, and I'm going to go ahead and believe it.
No reason not to.
Yeah. It's a horrible situation to be involved in, and it's because of the antics of Tyreek Hill.
Well, I will push back on you a little bit. Is it really a horrible situation to be in? I think, yes, I understand what you were alluding to, right? It's crappy because, this isn't what we need to be talking about. This isn't what we need to be focused on. However, I think this gets us to where I think a majority of the fan base, and I'm not there. I'm sure there are some that don't want Hill re-signed to a multi-year contract and want him to finish out his career. But I guarantee you there's a larger percent of us as fans that are like, all right, we're done. Like, enough's enough, brother. Like you're getting past your prime. I still think this coming season, Tyreek Hill has the talent to be a top 5, top 10 wide receiver in this league. If he is fully bought in, fully invested in, from a health standpoint, all of the pieces stay in place.
Yeah.
But, this might be the catalyst that pushes the front office and the decision makers to get off their butts and make a decision, right? Which is something that when we can talk about this throughout our depth chart conversation and position room, discussions, that it took them 3 years to finally realize you need to add beef to this team. And they finally did. Like, those are the kind of things. So this might be the catalyst to kind of help escalate some kind of decision, whatever it is, right? We're good, bad, or indifferent. We don't have to agree with it. But, it'll be interesting to see for sure.
Yeah. That makes sense. Do you think that this situation is going to have a moment during the season with Tyreek Hill where Mike McDaniel's going to have to put his foot down? And
well, that's a loaded question because can Mike McDaniel put his foot down is the whole question, right? I mean, he's a player's guy. He's a player's coach, right? I mean, and I say that with a little bit of sarcasm. Right? I'm sure those of you that are listening can hear the subtle hint in my voice, right? Look, let me preface what I'm about to say, but I like Mike McDaniel as a coach, but I am of the old school, right? Like, I like the Mike Vrabels, the Mike Tomlins, like oh Jesus, why am I blanking?
Bill Parcells?
No, the Detroit coach. I cannot think of his name.
Dan Campbell.
Man Campbell. Yeah, thank you. Like, those are the kind of coaches that I gravitate towards, right? Because that's the kind of football that I grew up watching. I'm 40, so I grew up, late 80s, early 90s, hard nose, like, my finger got ripped off my hand. Throw a Band-Aid on it. I'm going back in, coach. Like, those are the kind of, nowadays these players, each player has to be handled with care in some fashion, right? And that's just not where I sink my teeth into from a coaching standpoint. That is not an indictment on Coach McDaniel. I think he's a great coach,
Sure.
right? I think he's got all the tools. I mean, look, we were the number one offense 2 years ago, right? I mean, we're capable of doing it. But I think if Mike McDaniel can get out of his own way, I think he might have to put his foot down for the betterment of the team. The question is, will he? Right? I think there will come a point in which, especially, God forbid, knock on wood, especially if if there are injuries and the season turns out something similar to what it was last season, Tyreek Hill's going to be, I mean, he knows this is his last year in one way or another. He's going to be checked out very quickly at that point. And so I think that is when, if all is going well and we're putting up 40 points a game and we're 8-1 and we're in the top of the AFC and we've handled stuff at home and everything looks rosy and Tyreek Hill has 15 touchdowns by mid-year, like all that stuff, Tyreek Hill is going to be a model cadet, right?
Right.
It's when the wheels fall off is when you see who a player really is. And that is where I think Tyreek will revert back to what he's doing now, the kind of stuff that, little pokes, the prods, the social media posts, the little subtle but not so subtle hints about how unhappy he is, kind of like, what he's been doing now with, my top 5 quarterbacks. He went from 2 years ago saying 2 was better than Pat Mahomes to not even in my top 5. Like, yeah. Those are purposeful decisions. Those aren't just, maybe I'm giving him too much credit. Maybe he is really that oblivious, but I just find it hard to believe,
Yeah, no. And I wanted to give him a little bit of credit here too, in one way, and say that the first couple years that he was here, on the field, Tyreek was a magnificent leader. Yeah. On the field, he did a fantastic job with leading this team and setting an example on the field up until the end of last season. Yeah. And that's when you started seeing the wheels come off for him. So hopefully, maybe he can get back on that train this year, starting with training camp when he comes back. And I guess we'll just have to see how it works out. But it's definitely when I said it's horrible, it's not really horrible. I guess you're right. It's stress that this team does not need, especially.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, in the situation where we're trying to change some identity issues and some mentality issues on this team. Yeah, this is one of the last things that need to happen. But
yeah, and you know me by now. I'm a silver linings kind of guy. It's how I live my life, right? So I will say there is a silver lining to all of this.
Sure.
In a nutshell, right? Not his antics, but with Tyreek Hill as a player on the field. Yep. For all intensive purposes, in one way or another, this is a contract year for Tyreek Hill. Yep. So you have to believe that he knows that, and he's going to get another contract. And it's depending on how he plays this year, I believe it will help dictate the size of that contract, which I believe will be his final hurrah contract, right? And maybe another 4-year contract, a 3-year with a player option on the 4th, something in the realm of what he signed with us kind of contract before he starts getting those late stage vet wide receiver 1-year contracts, right? So he's playing for something.
Sure.
Right.
Yep.
So hopefully, knock on wood, that he's not oblivious. That he realizes that, and he knows that he needs to do it for himself, because everything that we see as fans, and again, I don't know the human being or the man personally, but he seems very self-centered in a lot of ways. Yeah. So that could be to our benefit in the fact that this is a contract year for all intents and purposes for him. So hopefully we'll see that 1,700. I don't think he'll have 1,700 yards, but we'll see more of that player than the injury-riddled, attitude-riddled 800-plus yard player that we did last year.
Right. Yep. Agreed. Okay, so we'll move on from Tyreek for now. We'll get back into a little bit of Tyreek when we get to the wide receiver room, of course.
Of course.
But I did want to say, you said you're a silver linings type of guy, and I think that's why I do like your channel that you guys have over there at Phins Forecast. I'm the same kind of way. I end every episode every video I make with stay hopeful and fins up. And
oh yeah,
I'm a firm believer in a positive attitude and staying hopeful. Not just fake hope like hopium, but directed hope. Positivity.
Purposeful hope.
Yeah, it affects your environment around you. It can change it. So
sure does.
I totally understand that, and I agree with you 100%. That is definitely the way to be. especially as a Dolphins fan, because we wouldn't be able to survive without it.
Right. I would have jumped off my 4th bridge by this point.
A little bit of housekeeping here. We got some moves that the Dolphins have made today. Miami has released Blake Ferguson, our long snapper. We've also waived Neil Farrell, Chasen Hines, and the short stay of Ryan Cooper. These guys are gone. Now, the team was at 94 players. In order before rookie minicamp and everything to start and the OTAs, the team has to get down to 90 players. So these 4 cuts drops them to that magic number of 90. However, I would not expect that to be the end of it. The one thing I do want to say here, and you tell me what you think here, I think that Jake Bailey is going to be cut very soon. We have Stonehouse, who's a much better punter, and Bailey is going to save us about $2 million, just under 1.975. And bank that with the 17 mil that we have sitting in the bank. Also, people are worried about our rookies, our draft picks, and signing them to contracts. That's only going to cost us just under $5 million to do that, to sign all of them if we did. So with that, you're looking at us having about, if you assume, I mean, it's pretty obvious, Jake Bailey's going to be cut, takes us to 19 million, and then 5 million off. You're looking at about 14 million we're sitting at in spending money.
And that's before. I'm not saying the Dolphins will, but there are quite a few levers that can be pulled on some of our more foundational pieces or long-term pieces, like the Tuas and the Jordan Brookses of the world, or the Chopper, or not Chop Robinson, the Bradley Chubbs of the world, right? You can restructure, you can pull. I mean, there's upwards of $35+ million sitting there for us to. Now there are, consequences and things that become more permanent, if you will, depending on where you are as a fan with some of those players. So, I mean, obviously, if somebody becomes available that is too good to not, there is certainly room for us to maneuver. I mean, I think at this point in the NFL, the cap is more of that phantom number, if you will. Teams can come up with money, right?
Yeah.
And you can move things around, you can restructure, you can push contracts down the road, you can add on years to the end of a contract that, I think we did it with, I forgot who we did it with recently, but where we tacked on like 3 or 4 extra years to a contract, just to allow us to. Yeah. So there are levers and things that we can pull. Sure. So, I mean, those fans that are out there, and I've seen you and I've chatted with you and argued with some of you that are doom and gloomers that are like, oh God, we have no money. Our cap is screwed. Our players suck. We suck. I want to die. Like, take a breath, take a shot, give somebody a high five, maybe get a hug, do whatever you got to do to put a smile on your face, because we're not in as bad a shape as you think we are.
Yeah. I even made a video a month or so ago saying it was titled, "Don't Worry About the Money." And I meant it. There's always something that can be done. And we restructured 2 players, Brooks and Sealer, and you're looking at about $11 million we'd have right off the bat. Also, if we trade Jalen Ramsey post June 1st, you're looking at a little bit of money there. I think $5 or $6 million.
Something like that. Yeah. I don't know. I don't have the contracts in front of me. I have a whole spreadsheet that says it, and I don't have it available.
So the money's going to be there. And we have a little bit of space. There's also some more players that are going to fall off of our roster here coming up for pretty soon. But with that, I feel like Miami is about to do something. I think they're making room, clearing up some cap space, and I would expect within the next month, I would expect Miami to at the least sign a cornerback and an offensive lineman.
Or a safety.
Yeah, safety maybe too. I really do think Miami is very impressed with Melifonwu, but
I understand it.
I would like to have another one.
Yeah, I don't think he's the number one safety.
No.
If he has to be the number one safety, okay. I mean, I don't think he's that bad, right? I mean, I wouldn't be crying about it per se, but
sure,
in a perfect scenario, you somehow end up with a number one safety, and Melifonwu was an amazing number 2, right? He's an average to above average number 1. He is a phenomenal number 2, in my opinion.
And the thing I do like about Melifonwu is his he can play anywhere.
He's a Swiss Army knife.
Yep. And I like that. Kind of like Jalen Ramsey. I'm not saying before everybody starts saying, I can't believe you're comparing him. I'm just saying he has that same ability to play everywhere on the field.
Yeah, but I will say he excels more based on my film. So I watched a lot of film. I wasn't familiar with him all that much when we signed him, and I did a huge deep dive into all 22 and all that stuff. And he is much better as more of an in the box safety than he is a free safety. Right. Yep. So he's a strong safety. He's more of a Rashad Jones.
Yeah.
Right.
He's one. He's one that can make a tackle.
And then some. And he actively heat sinks them out, which is great.
But he won't heat sink our own players. So Jordan Poyer, take note.
Yeah, that's a whole nother question. Yep. Oh, and I don't know if you saw it, but I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm pretty sure it is because I think I saw it on Dolphins Twitter. Quinn Ewers signed. I don't know if you were going to talk about that.
Yep, he did. I don't have numbers on his contract yet.
No. I think they're just standard, whatever the 7th round pick is.
Yep, that's we can just cross that one off the list here.
Sorry about that.
No, it's
Didn't
perfect.
mean to jump.
Perfect segue. It was even in order.
Look at me.
Yeah, Quinn Ewers did re-sign a 4-year contract, I think is what it said.
I'm going to look it up right now while you're chatting.
Yeah, it was a 4-year contract, but there's no numbers yet. That'll be out on Over the Cap here in the next day or two. I'm positive of it, and we'll see it.
So the deal was valued between 4.30. This is just an estimate. This is not like hard numbers for his contract, but the 231st overall pick in the 7th round, a deal is valued between 4.31 million and 4.33 million
over the 4 years, right?
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's basically he's basically making about a sixth of what he made in college.
Half. So he would have made $8 million if he stayed at Texas.
Yeah. But
this is a whole NIL thing I can't stand. And I'm sure I will get a lot of hate, and I have before. But I hate to say it this way, but I'm of that old school where your education is free. As somebody that paid for a 4-year college, like your education is free. You're there for in some of the really good players 1 year, 2 years.
Yeah.
To go make bajillion amounts of dollars, okay.
Yeah.
I'm all for players making money, but
all of us guys that played before the NIL took effect. What about us? Come on, man. That would have been really cool. Instead, we're living on top ramen, peanut butter, and saltine crackers.
Hey, don't knock all three of those.
That was pretty much our diet outside of the football cafeteria. But yeah, it's nuts how that works now. And now but at least Quinn Ewers is signed. I'm actually happy with it. I do like Quinn Ewers.
I like him a lot more than I did when we drafted him. I did about 4 days straight. I mean, multi-hour days, just digging into Quinn, watching all of his game, watching as many interviews as I could find. And I'll tell you what, I mean, he is a little skittish with his feet. He needs to work on his timing and how fast he reads certain things. And we'll dive more into him when we get to the quarterbacks, but he has the arm and he's a 5-star talent. He's got the potential. It's just a matter of coaching and him actually, not thinking that his stuff doesn't stink, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And then I will say one thing about him right now is I like you, I went and watched a ton of film on him, and I got tired of just watching clips. So I went and found a couple full games of his. Yep. And that was when I really decided I liked him, just because of his mental toughness.
Yeah.
The guy is he's got it together in his head. He's got learning to do, but he's very tough, and I like his leadership ability too. I'm really impressed with it.
And I don't want to give the whole school bus away on this, right? But what I really like about the position he's in is I always think that there are certain, I fully, like to my core, believe that there are certain positions on a team where a rookie can come in and should start immediately, right? There's going to be growing pains, but just throw him to the fire. Quarterback is not one of them. I prefer the old school methodology a la Aaron Rodgers, where he sat behind Brett Favre for 3 or 4 years before. Like, I'm not saying Quinn will sit that long should he remain in the league or with the Dolphins, but I mean, sit him behind Tua, sit him in the room, put him on the practice squad. He's the break glass in case of emergency, in case Zach Wilson gets injured. He's a practice squad player. Like I said a minute ago, he can do it the right way. And I do think he's valuable. Right. And I'm a nerd. I have an algorithm that I created, right, where I grade players based on 5 stats: scheme fit, talent, college tape. I these are all arbitrary grades based on me, but and he ranks higher by a half a point than Zach Wilson today. So, I don't think he's ready to start in the NFL. I mean, he was a 7th round pick for a reason. However, I think he's got all of the tools needed to be successful. It's just a matter of how he evolves as a player, as a person, as a sponge, asks all the questions, does all the right stuff. He could be a good player.
Yeah, I agree. I like him a lot. So, okay. So since we've talked a little bit about him, let's just start our evaluations with the quarterback room.
Perfect.
And we have anything else we need to say about Quinn? Because I do agree that he's almost around the same level, at least in my opinion, as Zach Wilson. Mm-hmm. And we can talk about Zach Wilson too, but we should give, the ratings that you have for Ewers, and then we'll move up the quarterback room.
Yeah, so I did a position room grade, which we'll get to later, in the very scholastic A through F, right, with pluses and minuses. Mm-hmm. And a player grade I did from 1 to 10, right? 9.5, 10 is like key starter, key player, and these are all through the lens of Miami. These are not compared to NFL quarterbacks. This is through a very specific Miami Dolphins lens. And for Quinn Ewers, I gave a 7.5, and that is projecting his floor, his ceiling, his talent in college, what the intangibles that he has. It doesn't speak to his mental state or how quick of a learner he is, or if he even picks things up, or if he can adjust to the speed of the game. This is all intangible stuff that I could point to on film or point to in an interview or whatever the case is, so that I could arbitrarily match it up to other players.
Right.
So Quinn Ewers, I have a 7.5 out of 10. For him, I have him listed as a depth piece for now, with most likely for the majority of the season will be a practice squad player. Mm-hmm. And then obviously we all know, but he was drafted in the 7th round at 231.
Yeah. I think you're right on cue there with the 7.5. I would probably say right around a 7 or 7.5 as well. I do like a lot of the things that he has to offer, the things that he brings to the table. Like I said, the big thing for me with him is he's got a strong mind. He's got good leadership qualities. And I think kind of sticking him in that 3rd string quarterback, practice squad quarterback realm for a year or so will do nothing but benefit him. Yeah. He can work on some of those things that he does need to work on, his decision-making a little bit, the happy feet, pocket awareness, that kind of stuff. Yep. He works on that, and he's going to be – I think he could be a solid starter in the NFL.
Sure.
So,
yeah, I think he's got real – I did not include my player comps for these guys, for our rookies at least, so I apologize. But, Quinn Ewers reminds me of – and I'm not saying these are the same kind of players, but just when you think about Derek Carr.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I'm not saying they're the same type of player, the same body type, or has the same, intangibles from a player standpoint. But from a sheer, when I think of a player, the feeling that I get, that is who I think Quinn Ewers could be. A Derek Carr-esque type player, where he's not a top 10 quarterback in this league. I mean, he might be. I mean, who the hell knows? I mean, Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round or whatever it was. So, hey, anything's possible. But I think when you hear the name Derek Carr, what are your thoughts? When I say, hey, how do you feel about Derek Carr? Right?
Yeah. I mean,
that is who Quinn Ewers, I think that is his realistic ceiling. I think every player coming into the draft, could be better, right? But a realistic, and if I told you, hey, we got a Derek Carr in the 7th round, you'd be ecstatic,
Yeah, my player comp that I have for him, this is a blast from the past too, so see if you remember. Old Jake the Snake Plummer.
Hey, Jake Plummy boy.
From
Denver.
Yep, from Denver. And I'm not thinking Jake Plummer, Arizona. I'm thinking Jake Plummer, Denver. That's what he kind of reminds me of in his play style.
Yep. It's a much better comparison.
So, and I was a fan of Jake Plummer when he came into the NFL. So, like I said, I do see promise with Quinn Ewers. Let's talk about Zach Wilson.
Or not. That's fine too. Right? No, I'm kidding. Look, he was our free agent get, right?
Yeah.
I will say again, and those that are watching will get very annoyed when I say this because I say this a lot. I'm a silver linings kind of guy. Zach Wilson today is better than any backup quarterback we had last year.
Absolutely.
All three of them.
Yep.
So, hey, it's a win. We got better. No matter, irregardless of how you feel about Zach Wilson, which I am not a huge fan of. I think he was drafted where he was drafted for a reason. Mm-hmm. I think he went to and I apologize, not really, a really crappy organization, right, in the Jets when he was drafted. Then he went to a better situation in Denver where players, I mean, the preseason last year, Zach looked good, dude. Go watch the Denver preseason games where Zach Wilson played. He looked very composed. Again, we're not talking about a top 10, top 15 quarterback. He's a backup for a reason. Yeah. But if Tua goes down, knock on wood, knock on, what did Gruden say? Tap the desk if you love it or whatever, right? if Tua stays healthy, the best case scenario is you're paying Zach Wilson, whatever, $6 million or whatever the hell it was that we're giving him to hold a clipboard. But if Tua goes down, I feel much more confident in Zach and even Quinn Ewers than I did for any of our quarterbacks that were backing up Tua last year.
Definitely. I like you said, you touched on how he played last year in Denver in the preseason and the example that he did set all year sitting on the bench. And I know people are like, well, what kind of example are you going to set sitting on the bench? Well, if you didn't hear a bunch of crap about him, then he was setting a good example.
Yeah, just all I got to say is hide your moms.
Yep. Yeah. The MILF Hunter is in Miami.
Yep. But I will tell you this. I mean, I think a year with Sean Payton did him wonders. And I love Sean Payton as a coach, right? I think he's a phenomenal, grounded coach. He's a veteran. He knows his stuff. He has an amazing track record with Hall of Fame type quarterbacks. And I think Zach Wilson needed to get out of the New York Jet media market, right? Yeah. Not the team. The team was bad. He needed to get away from that team too. But out of the spotlight, you were number 2 or number 3 draft pick. You are number whatever 2, draft pick 2. Why do you suck and all this other stuff? Well, you're the ones that drafted him. It's not his fault, right? Yeah. You decided to take a BYU quarterback number 2 overall. Yeah. Where in that year I had a fringe 1 on him in my top 100. Right. That was your choice. That's not on Zach.
Well, and right? the Jets are where quarterbacks go to die.
Yeah. I mean, butt fumbles galore, right? So I think, Zach, basically, I'll get off my soapbox on this in a moment, but, I think Zach picked a lot up from Denver, from being the secondary quarterback in that quarterback room, from being able to learn from Wilson and Peyton and really kind of seeing Bo Nix kind of blossom and really being able to read the room. And I think he's a better quarterback today than he ever was as a starter in this league for however many years I forgot how many years he's been in the league at this point. 4, 5? Yeah. 6, something like that.
I think 5. Yeah. Yeah. I think 5. Yeah. And you also, Bo Nix, there was an interview he did about halfway through the season last year. He actually mentioned that Zach Wilson helped him a ton. Getting accustomed to the NFL speed. And so things like that, when you hear the compliments like that, it makes me happy that he's here just because we have Quinn Ewers here who's going to be having to get used to that. And Zach Wilson can help with a lot of stuff, even though he's not the best quarterback in the world.
Like he's better than Skylar Thompson.
better than Pat or Boyle. Better than
or Huntley.
Yep. So I think that's
I think we would have been better running the Wildcat instead of putting any of those quarterbacks in.
Yeah. And now we got a guy that can run Wildcat. Conyers is on the team.
Exactly. So in from a player grade standpoint, I have him at a 7 out of 10, right? I mean, I do think, again, keep in mind, these are all through the lens of the Dolphins. I'm not saying he's 7 out of 10 of NFL quarterbacks, but through a very specific Dolphin scheme, I think he's in a really good position. That's why I have him 7 out of 10, not because of him rating him 7 out of 10 across the NFL, but he's the backup in Miami. He fits the scheme. He's a better backup than we had. That's why he gets a 7.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. What about
Mhm.
Tua? Let's talk Tua real quick.
Oh God.
We don't got to
Okay.
touch too much on Tua because we all
No.
know. But
Yeah. Look, I'm a Tua guy, and I hate to for those that there are. We are a fan base divided, right? I'm a Tua guy. I think he's a top 10, top 12 player in this league at the quarterback position
I have him
when
at
healthy.
11.
Yeah, when healthy, right? And if he has a line in front of him and all the things are clicking, I mean he's an MVP caliber quarterback. And that is not me waxing poetic. He was 2 years ago. He was in the MVP conversation for the first 9 games of the season, right?
Yep.
There's a reason, right? There's a reason he's good. He's accurate. He doesn't get flustered except when he decides to dive headfirst into, Hamlin's kneecap. In that case, you get a concussion. Like that's on you, brother, right? But I have him a player grade of 9.5 out of 10 through the lens of Miami, through my I call it my Miami Dolphins algorithm, if you will. 9.5 out of 10.
I can see it. I can see it. Yeah. And if I had to
Mhm.
try to be my own algorithm for that same process, I would go around 9.
Yep.
Like I said, I like Tua just fine. I think he's capable. I think he has the ability to do the things that we need to do.
Mhm.
Obviously, he's got his things he needs to step through. He needs to get that big game bone that I'm always talking about.
Mhm.
He needs that still. He also, like I said, I really like Angry Tua. I want to see
Yeah.
Angry Tua more.
Salty Tua.
Yeah, I need
Yeah.
it in my life.
Mhm.
I like this year that he's bulked up again a little bit. He's given up on the I want to be thinner and more mobile.
Yep.
I think that's a good idea because the only year he was healthy, he was a big Tua.
Yeah. Did you see the picture that just got released of he did not miss leg day? Holy
Dude,
crap.
yeah, it ripped.
He looks like a running back, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's great. But I will say this, right? There cannot be an argument made that Tua is the best quarterback for this team because when he came back last year, irregardless of all the crap that this team was going through, this team performed at a marketably better rate than we did when he wasn't on the field.
Definitely.
I mean, it's not even close. It's really not. I mean, it is. We look like a high school team without him,
Yeah.
and we looked like a very high functioning at times professional NFL team with him behind center. And all of the factors that we will talk about coming up here with other position rooms have gotten better. It's only going to make his impact on this team better.
Yeah.
But I will say this, and I have to say this, and I say it any chance I get, so I apologize. I got to be careful how I word this. I'm a little frustrated with with a lot of our fan base because they put the entire win on Tua they put all of the loss on Tua.
Mm-hmm.
But when we win, it's Tyreek, it's a team win. It's a team loss too. You can't put it all on one player.
Yep.
Right? There's 11 players on each side of the ball. We gave up 35 points. That's not on Tua.
Yep.
We didn't score 35 or 36 points. You could put some of that on Tua. But Tyreek Hill dropped multiple touchdowns. Jalen Waddle's in and out of the lineup and can't catch a ball without jumping in the air. Our running backs can't run because our offensive line is on our third string, right guard, our rookie left tackle, and our fourth string Liam Eichenberg, who nobody loves except for his mom. So it's one of those things where, Tua gets all of it. And I get it. He's the quarterback of the team. The quarterback is the starling or the demon. But realistically, it's not all on him. Does he need to make better decisions at times? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Does he need to learn not to scramble unless you have 40 yards of field in front of you and then run 5 and drop, right? Sure. Live to die. You are our franchise guy. You are paid like a franchise quarterback. Don't take the sack. Just stop. Drop on the floor.
Yep.
Wave the white flag and live to play another game because you are pivotal to the success of this team.
Yeah. No more concussions, please.
Yeah.
So
someone that has had 5 in my life, because I was a soccer player growing up. I was a soccer player into my 20s. I played overseas in Europe on the development squad for a really big French team. Like I've gotten plenty of concussions in my life, plenty of concussions, and they only get easier. Yep. I mean, if I was to tap my head a little too hard, I'd be seeing stars. Like that's how easy they are. So he's got to learn to protect himself.
Yeah, I know. I've had 4 officially, but man, that number's probably way higher.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it just wasn't didn't command the same attention.
I don't even know where I am right now. I'm just having fun. No, I'm kidding.
So with that, looking at the QB room, I personally give our quarterback room an 8 out of 10.
Okay, so from a letter grade, because I did position rooms by letter grades.
We'll do letter grades.
I gave you can do numbers, that's fine. I gave him a B plus, which is
fair.
about equal to an 8.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. I'm actually that's a solid improvement over last year for the quarterback room.
I can tell you this time last year, I had a C- on our team.
Yeah.
In the quarterback room.
Fair. Yep. Okay. So now let's move to running back real quick, and not too quick, but let's run through running backs. You have Jalen Wright, you have Devin Achane, you have Ollie Gordon, we have Madison.
Yep. And Nate Noel.
And Noel, that's yes. I'm going to start out right away with I'm not going to venture a guess as to what they're going to do for a starting running back, but I would love to see Jalen Wright get that role, or even Ollie Gordon, and have Achane be the salt to the pepper, or the lightning to the thunder. But I'm definitely impressed with this running back room. I like every single running back we have on this team. I love that we now have a couple guys who like to punch people in the mouth.
That's the best way of saying it.
It is. And I love that we have players that can run away from a speeding Lamborghini. We have
kind of that jack of all trades in Jalen Wright. I think Jalen Wright's good at everything. I mean, he's not great at everything. Yeah,
he could be a workhorse for us and carry the big load. I'm happy with our running back room. Individually, I'd like to hear what your individual 1 through 10 ratings for each of the running backs, and then we'll move into rating the running back room itself.
Yeah, so I mean, Devon Achane, I think it's clear far and away I think he's the most talented running back on this team. Right. So I have a 9 out of 10 for him. I think he does everything. You've seen it. He's a wide receiver in a running back's body. He's a scat back in a running back's body. Yeah. He's getting better at knowing when he can overpower on breakaways. So when a safety's coming in, he can kind of quasi stiff arm or drop his shoulder. He's obviously not big enough as a player to be an in-between the tackle runner consistently. Right. So he's not the one you put on the field when you need 3 yards. Right. On fourth and 3. Right. But I think he's the best right now. He's the best overall running back in our room. Jalen Wright is my favorite running back in this room. Right. Out of Tennessee, I was a huge fan of his. I think, and I have a hot take, and I've been banging this gavel anytime I could. I think by the end of the season, Jalen Wright will be the starting running back. I do. And that's not to discount Devon Achane. I think he'll also be on the field, just in a different type of role, flexed out at wide receiver more, two running back kind of sets, that kind of stuff. Jalen Wright, I have an 8 out of 10 on him. Ollie Gordon is the next highest rated. I'm a huge fan of his. I had a 3rd round grade on him. We got him in the 6th round at pick 179. Yeah, this guy, if he reaches his potential, can be a workhorse all down back. That is how good he is. Yeah. He catches. He's a fierce pass blocker. Like he said it in his interviews. I want people. I forgot how he worded it, so I'm doing a piss poor job at paraphrasing it. But essentially, the gist of it was, I'm going to make the opposing team player that is coming in to get to my quarterback or to another teammate of mine, I am going to hit him so hard that the next time he does not want to come back into the hole. Yep. I mean, how can you not love that? Nope, right? He's big. I think he's 6'1", 6'2", something like that. I mean, he is the running back, in my opinion, even as a rookie. When we are in those kind of hard fought games where we need 4th and 2 with the game on the line and we're at midfield, instead of chucking up a BS, fade to a 4'8" Tyreek Hill, give it to your tall, big rookie running back that's got knees and legs and power and will get you those 2+ yards to get the first down to keep the chains rolling. I have a 7 out of 10 for him. Alexander Madison, I think, is a great depth piece. I have a 6 out of 10 for him. And Nate Noel, I don't know if he'll make the team, but I have a 3.5 for him. Admittedly, I don't know him all that well. Yeah. I watched a little bit of tape on him. Nothing jumps off the film. So I think he's more of a practice squad or kind of camp body type player.
Sure. So with that, where are we at in the A, B, C, D, E, F ranking for running back room as a whole? And I gotta go with an A for our running back room.
Yeah.
I really can't put him anywhere lower just because it's exactly what you want. So
Yeah, I have an A minus.
nice.
Yep.
Awesome.
I mean, I flirted with a B plus,
Yeah.
but I think it's one of the stronger units on our team now, because last year I had a B. I think I had a straight B last year, but this year we have, and this is something that for those that watch the Phins Forecast podcast, we preach on that quite often, and we did. I think we have diversity in the room, which is why I think this is one of the better positions, position rooms on our team, because you have the small, fast guys, you have the big tanks, you have the jack of all trades, you have the young guy that's trying to prove himself, that was a third round draft type player, that was the number one running back in the league 2 seasons ago in college. I mean, if you watch any of Ollie Gordon's film 2 years ago, I mean, he was projected to be a top 25 running back.
I was gonna say, yeah. Well, they had him in the first round.
Yeah. And we got him in round 6. So there's a lot to be excited about in this room.
Thank goodness for a crappy offensive line his senior year.
Yeah, it's equivalent to a bong video, a la Jeremy, a la Tunsil.
Okay. All right. So we've got the running back. We've got the quarterback room. Let's move to tight ends. Go ahead and tell me what we have at tight end and what you're thinking.
Yeah, so we have Jonnu Smith, returning player. We have Julian Hill, returning player. We have Hayden Rucci. We have Farrell Brown, we signed in free agency, and we have Jalen Conyers. There's a lot to like in this room.
Yeah,
there really is. There's a ton to like. I mean, from a player grade standpoint, I give Jonnu Smith a 10 out of 10. I think he is the perfect tight end for this scheme. I don't think he's the best tight end in the league by any stretch. But for us, he's a 10 out of 10, genuinely. Out of all of the players that I mentioned, the next highest rated players is one of my favorite players that we have right now is Jalen Conyers. Mm-hmm. I am so excited about this Texas Tech product. I gave him an 8 out of 10 because I think he can be the thunder to Jonnu's lightning. Yeah. I really do. And I really do see by like game 5 or 6, this dude's going to be playing quite a lot of snaps. I mean, like well over, I think by the end of the year, he could be in that multi-hundred snap role.
Yeah. I see him contributing a lot. Like I said, I just don't see any way Jalen Conyers doesn't make this team. No. So then we'll have another Jalen spelled differently on this team.
It's kind of perfect, isn't it?
It just makes sense. It's so Dolphins. Chris Kerr's like, his name's Jalen. But I gotta have him. Get him.
Give him $100 million.
I agree. We have a very, very solid tight end room.
We do.
I think
we do now.
Yeah, and I still think that there's a lot of people are wanting to give up on Julian Hill. I'm not quite there yet. I know you are. I want to see how he responds in training camp this year. Mm-hmm. Now that he knows that he's got some young Thundercat breathing down his neck.
I like that.
I think that Jalen Conyers might be the motivation that he needs to better himself a little bit. And I can't think of a better tight end room to have than those 4 guys. Or 3.
I mean, look, no 4, right? Because I think Julian Hill, or what we refer to him on our podcast as Jillian Hill, right? Based on how he played last year. See, this is why I'm salty on Julian Hill. And I'm admitting that this has very little to do with the player and has everything to do with me being scorned. I was raving to my fellow co-host about Julian Hill in the preseason last year. I was like, dude, this dude's going to be amazing. He's going to be tight end 2. He's this, he's that. He's the next Jason Graham from New Orleans. Like, this is how good he can be. He's got all the tools. And he proceeded to prove me wrong every single game. Every single chance he could. He got a holding penalty. He fumbled the ball. Yep. He couldn't catch a gift that was lofted up to him. He fumbled it and dropped it. Like,
it was hard to watch him in that Seattle game.
Oh, that broke me. that broke me on so many levels. Look, I think Hill is the number 4 tight end in this room. I like Farrell Brown a lot.
Yes, Yes.
He's the eighth offensive lineman, Farrell Brown, right? Can he catch about as well as Durham Smythe can?
Yeah.
Right. Which Durham Smythe made some big catches from time to time. I mean, you can't argue that. I watch games. I use my eyeballs. He wasn't a very good tight end, but he came up clutch on a few occasions. Farrell Brown is the big package. You put Farrell Brown in, you put Ollie Gordon in, you put Westbrook Akine in at wide receiver, and you have 17 offensive linemen on the field. So, I think Julian Hill is where he should be right now in his career. He should be tight end 4. Put him in, maybe have 10 plays for him at like a Hill package, if you will, a Jillian package, where he can contribute from time to time, but he should not, until he proves he can be consistent, he should not be getting consistent minutes.
So where do you have the tight end room as a whole?
I gave him a B.
That's exactly what I was about to say, a B. Yep. Okay, so we agree there.
Yeah, I think Conyers and Smith saved this room, right? Yeah. Because Farrell Brown, I have a 7. Rucci and Hill and Julian Hill, I have a 4.5. So fair. If it weren't for John, who's 10, and Conyers is 8, this would have been probably a C-, right?
Yeah. So I'm noticing a trend so far with our offensive rooms. I think our offense is looking pretty decently good for this year coming up. But
yeah, we've quietly improved more than people think, right?
Yep. I was attempting to argue this on Wake Up and Ball, but TD Phins Talk and Richie Malure, the Jets guy and the Bills guy, and on their little podcast,
AFC East Summit kind of thing.
Yeah, TD wasn't there, and they were all saying, Richie said something along the lines of, if you're a Dolphins fan, tell me what the Dolphins actually have improved this year. And I'm just like, okay, so let me just name just about every single
name like 27 group. Players.
Yeah, so I actually took the time to write it. And then, of course, as soon as it's sent and they had a second to read it, they didn't respond to it.
Of course not, because it makes too much sense. Yeah, so I think, to your point about, well, what have the Dolphins added? It's, we've improved the position rooms. I mean, you can see that with our grades. You can look at the players and look at who left and who we replaced and where we increased. It's just a matter of, can they put it together on the field? That's a whole different conversation. We're giving these position rooms A's, B's, C's, D's, F's, all this other stuff. That is just our opinions. They have to put it together on the field. That's a whole different story. And that's not including all the coaching staff stuff. Yeah. Like the plays have to be called, the injury bug has to be avoided. So, when we say the tight end room's a B, that is not saying that they're going to have some historical, like Jonnu Smith's going to have another historical season. It's just, we think he's really damn good on the Dolphins.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. 100%. Yep. So moving to wide receivers. Now we have a lot of wide receivers on this team right now. We don't really have to rank every single one, but what I would like to do is I would like to talk about the ones that we think are going to make the team. And I guess we'll just, obviously the starters, Tyreek and Jalen, and those guys are going to make the team. I mean, we have Westbrook Akine, very excited about him, very glad to have him on the team. He is something this team has needed for a while, in that more of a Chris Chambers type body,
yes,
and an ability to go get a freaking ball.
Yeah, I say it all the time. Our wide receiver room the last few years were Ferraris in a snowstorm.
Yep.
Right. We need those we need those lifted 4x4s, Jeep Wranglers, Chevy Silverados, like with 38-inch tires and all that other stuff. That's what we lacked. And again, I will say it at just about every position room. We needed diversity, and I don't mean from anything other than player physical type.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of small, fast guys. That's great. But when you needed a blocker, when you needed a tall guy to get into the end zone and act like a tight end at the wide receiver position, we didn't have it. And if we did have it, they weren't any good, right?
Yes.
I think we made some strides here, right? I mean, Tyreek Hill, Jalen, Malik Washington, Westbrook Akine, I think those are locks for this roster.
Definitely.
Right? And I think all of them will provide very good football to this team. We have D. Eskridge. I think he's a special teamer. He's a returner if he makes the team at all. Mm-hmm. I think he should as a returner. I think he's a great returner. I don't think he's a very good wide receiver, but I think he's a really good returner.
I agree.
I think Ezukama, I think that project needs to be over,
Yep.
in my opinion, right? It's nothing against him. I liked him coming out of Texas Tech. I'm done. Like, dude, this is the
He just
the
can't stay
Channing
healthy.
Tyndall. This is Channing Tyndall all over again. Like, just at some point, just admit defeat and move on, right?
And maybe him having a fresh start somewhere else will give him that opportunity.
Yes.
So I do like Eric Ezekama. So
me too. I think he's a good player when he stays healthy. Yeah.
Hopefully he gets a chance to prove himself somewhere else. But I agree, the Ezekama project is over.
Yeah, Taj Washington. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. It's a recency biased league, right? It's what have you done for me lately league, and the fact that he was a rookie last year at a UNC or USC, had a really good college career. Go back and watch the tape, right? However, because he was injured all season, people are like, "Who?
Yeah,
Taj Washington. What do you mean? Are you talking about Malik Washington? No, we're talking about Taj Washington. This dude is good. I mean, I don't think he's going to be some kind of world beater wide receiver, but as a wide receiver 4 or 5 on this team." Okay. Special teams ace. Okay. Maybe another kick returner. Okay. Right.
Yep.
And I will tell you this, Andrew, everyone keep your eye out. Andrew Armstrong, undrafted free agent, 6'4", I think he is, ran like a 4.43 40 or some stupid like that at 6'4". Yes, please. I am so excited about him. And I really do like Theo Weiss Jr. Jr. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I think of the undrafted free agents, I think Andrew Armstrong is like, what a play. I cannot believe he didn't get drafted.
Yeah, I'm shocked too. There's a lot of our undrafted free agents this year just blew my mind that they were there in the first place. A lot of them. And obviously Theo Weiss even, I thought for sure both of them would be grabbed at some point.
Sure. Yeah, so, Andrew Armstrong, I had a fringe 5th round pick on him.
Yeah.
Or 5th round grade rather. Meaning he probably drafted in the 6th, but wouldn't be surprised if he was a late 5th round guy. And we got him undrafted.
Yeah. And I had Weiss in the 6th.
Yeah, crazy.
So, yeah, both of them should have been gone, but they're not. We have them now. And looking at this wide receiver room, I gotta go with an A.
Yeah, A- for me.
Yeah. I can't go any less than that for this room.
Let's talk about a quick hypothetical. Because I wonder, I can admit this, it will slightly change the grade for the room. How would you grade this room without Tyreek Hill? As it stands now, today?
With what I know and what I don't know, I would say B to B+. No less than that.
Yeah, for me, this would be an entire letter grade lower. So this would become a B-.
Okay, yeah.
Right? Still not bad. Right, yeah. You're losing. We're purposely excluding a very good wide receiver that has done it for many, 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 many years. My concern comes with, I think Jalen Waddle can certainly be a number 1. I just worry about his ability to stay healthy, which is a common theme across the Miami Dolphins. Right, if Jalen Waddle can stay healthy and get back to where he was 2 seasons ago, I think he's easily a number 1. Yeah. Right.
Okay. All right. So A and A- for the receiver room. Moving to the offensive line now. This is
we're gonna spend some time here, brother.
This is a good one. I'll just touch in mainly. I want you to give me your opinions on this in this video. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of do what I've been doing, kind of touch on a little bit, and then pass it off to you. I look at this starting offensive line, working from side to side. You got Patrick Paul. You got James Daniels, you got Aaron Brewer, you got Jonah Savaianea.
Nice, nailed it.
Yeah, you have and Austin Jackson. This offensive line, as it is right now, for the starting 5, I like it a lot. I like that our guards have the ability to, that phrase that I love to say is punch people in the mouth. We have a little bit of that now on this offensive line. This is a good thing. My big concern right now with our offensive line is the lack of depth. However,
I disagree.
However, I'm only saying it now is because I don't know. Once we get into training camp and we see a little bit more of some of the guys we do have, like I said, I made a video a couple weeks ago where I said that I wanted to see some of these guys progress through training camp and see how they're doing. I'm excited for that. But for right now, I feel like I wish I felt a little more comfortable with the depth of the offensive line. But that's just me. I still am impressed with where we are. I still see us as a massive improvement at offensive line. And obviously because of that, that means every other position with the offense is going to be a little better.
Oh yeah.
So, and let's pass it off and tell me how you feel.
Yeah. No, it's raining beef, right?
Yeah.
That's what this is doing now. And I will tell you, this specific position room did influence the grades at the other offensive position rooms because I think we have gotten significantly better. And that is even including the fact that we lost at a Hall of Fame left tackle, in my opinion, in Terron Armstead. I really do believe that he might not be a first ballot, but he will be a Hall of Famer. I think he should be probably a second ballot at best case scenario. But that's irregardless. That's besides the point. I think, Patrick Paul showed he can do what is expected of him at left tackle. He had a year to learn under one of the best to do it over the last decade plus. In the same vein that we were talking about unsolicited information, Terron Armstead came out and unsolicited said that Patrick Paul has everything that it takes to be a starting high quality left tackle in this league. He saw it firsthand. You can't argue with him, right? You just can't, right? And I think Patrick Paul sitting there with the film that he put on tape last season as a rookie, I feel very confident that he is just going to get better. He has the body type, he has the speed, he has the agility, and he has the power. And with a year under his belt going into a starting role, I think he's going to succeed. I don't think he's going to be one of the best left tackles in the league. That is not what I'm saying. Yeah. But Patrick Paul is not going to be a liability, which is fine. As a second-year player, totally fine, right? I think putting James Daniels next to him is very smart, right? I think you're putting a very experienced offensive lineman next to a second-year player is going to help him tremendously. Daniels is going to help Patrick Paul tremendously, right? He's going to cover up some of the first-year starter, second-year player kind of mistakes that you're going to have. You're going to have them, right? You're like, I bid on that stunt, or I bid on that bull rush, or I heavy set because I thought he was going to bull rush and he swam past me, or that, whatever the case is, right? You're going to have those kind of mistakes. And James Daniels is a very solid player in this league at the offensive, at the left guard position. Aaron Brewer, I will take this to the grave. I think he's a top 7 offensive center in this league.
Especially in our setup.
Yes, he's a perfect fit, right? And then you have you're in between Aaron Brewer and Austin Jackson, who I think is a very, very good left tackle or right tackle when he's healthy. You have Jonas Savaianaya, nailed it, who I think is a 10-year type player, all pro potential at the right guard position. I don't think he's a very good tackle. Go look at his college tape. I know that he, in the middle of a game, I forgot who it was against, he went to his head coach and said, "We are struggling with this edge player. Put me at left tackle or right tackle," I think it was. And he shut the guy down. Yeah. Right. But as a right guard, this dude is going to be phenomenal. Yep. Phenomenal.
And he's even said he would be way more comfortable at guard than as opposed to tackle.
Well, I mean, look at him, right?
Yeah, perfect.
And the fact that and I think this is kind of cool. It has nothing to really do with how I think he's going to do as a player, but I think it's a cool little caveat about him. He is blocked exclusively for Polynesian quarterbacks his entire life, which I think is amazing.
Never had one other than a Poly.
A mainlander quarterback, never had one, right? Unreal. He's blocking for Tua. During his draft, kind of after he got drafted and after he got off the phone, or while he was on the phone, I think it was with Ross. Right, he was talking to the owner. I think he said, "Tell Tua to get ready." Yep. Right. His family knows Tua's family. Yep. We talked about it earlier on. That Polynesian culture, heavy religion, heavy family. Yep. This dude will, and he said it on an interview, "I will die before I let my quarterback get hurt." How can you not be excited? And look at the size of this dude.
Yeah.
Right? And he moves like a player that's 100 pounds lighter than he is.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't wait.
Yeah,
And the best part of all of this,
for those of them that haven't, if anybody has not watched him run a 40, go watch Jonah run a 40.
Yeah, go watch his game tape.
Does not look like he's 300 plus pounds.
It's crazy, man. He runs like he's 260.
I think,
right? And he's what is he like 320?
320, 330, yeah. And you look at this team,
it's crazy
for this offensive line. And no offense to Austin Jackson, but I would say he's the weakest out of all of them.
I would say Patrick Paul probably is right at this point, and that's not an indictment on Patrick Paul. Sure. I think Austin Jackson really turned the corner last year before he got hurt. I mean, he was playing he was one of the top right tackles in the league. That's how good he was playing, right? And I think coming back from so I think that it's a toss up between the tackle position, right? I think they're both very good. But the best part of all of this, the fact that we have, in my opinion, the best offensive line this team has had in the last decade, close to it at least, in my opinion. If you look at potential, we don't know what Seven Eye is going to do. He could flame out. I doubt it. I don't think so. I would put quite a lot of money on it that he succeeds very well.
Yeah, he's got All-Pro written all over him.
Right? So, but hey, I mean, shit happens. But based on my opinion of this starting offensive line, the best part of these players being the offensive line, the starting offensive line for this team, is it puts other players in their correct position. Mm-hmm. Liam Eichenberg should never sniff the field unless all 5 starters get into a car accident. You know what I mean? Like, he is where he should be. He is the final piece or player on the offensive line. The good thing about Liam Eichenberg, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, is he can play every single position. So he's good to have on a team as a break glass, earthquake, holy crap, nuclear holocaust type emergency. Liam Eichenberg can step into any position. He's not going to play well at any of them, but he's not going to play like Jackson Carman did in his first game, right? Yeah. I mean, that's what you're getting in Eichenberg. You're getting a Band-Aid to a hatchet wound, but it's better than nothing, right?
Yep. So,
and I think, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And I think Larry Borum is an underrated backup piece, right? I have him listed as a key piece, not a depth piece, not a role player, a key piece to this offense. I think he will see quite a lot of time.
Yeah, I see him giving a lot of players breaks.
Yes.
Regularly in games. So I do see him getting field time too. My main thing with him is we just need to get him comfortable. The less stress for him, the easier it is for him to transition and make good plays when he's in there. You know, I do like Larry Borum. A lot of people hate him.
I like him too. I mean, it's not world beating, but I mean, he's better than
he has.
Jackson Carman.
He's got the size and he's got the strength to be serviceable. So I just want to see how he progresses this off season. But okay, so with what we have now, with these players on this offensive line as is, what's your ranking?
Okay, so I have this classified in 2 different ways. I have an overall position room grade, taking into account even the undrafted free agents, right? Like all, whatever it is, 19 of them or however many damn offensive linemen we have on this team. I gave everyone collectively a B+.
Okay.
I gave the starting unit, or I'm sorry, I have collectively a B. I have the starting unit a B+. Sorry.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I'm gonna include it all into one ranking, but like I said, what you just said makes total sense, and that ranking is more than fair. I would say they're at a B right now, but the beginning of this season, this off season, I said all I want for Christmas is an offensive line that's in the top 15. That's all I want.
Yeah.
If we had a top 15 offense, we would have won 3 or 4 more games last year. So,
I mean, it's true.
Thinking of that, I think a B. I think that's right where we need to be. Room to improve.
No pun intended.
Ding.
Right where we need to be. Sorry, dad jokes.
You got it. That's where we're at. So we've hit the entire offense, rated each position room. If we had to give a ranking to the offense as a whole, what do you put them at?
A B.
B? Nice.
right now. Yep. It's fringe B plus, right? But I mean, so I have a B plus for the quarterback room. I have an A minus for the wide receivers and the running backs, and I have B's and B's, right?
Yep.
So, and B minus. Sorry. So, average, rough, quick Josh math live and in living color. I gave us a B, which I think, and that's a B. Sorry, that's a B with the potential of it being a B plus to an A minus, right? But I think realistically, where I am very excited about all of the offensive position rooms and quite a lot of the defensive position rooms, I think I'm excited because of a lot of the potential.
Yeah.
So I think that's very gray area, right? So I think we have a lot to like. We've improved at most of the positions across this team in general, but we're talking about the offensive side. So we've improved in quite a lot of position rooms, but some of it is wait and see. So I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah. I'm going B plus, but that is, like I said, that's with the questions we have right now and with everything we haven't seen, that could, like you said, that could very well jump immediately as soon as we watch a couple games. So
yeah.
B plus right now, but I think it's a very solid offense. I like where we're at this point in the year. I mean, every team has room to improve here and there, but this is an encouraging offensive room.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where we're at with the offense. Should we go to defense?
Let's do it.
Okie dokie, defense time. Now,
this is a roller coaster, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you that because there are some high highs and low lows.
All right, so defense. Let's just start with D-line. And when I say D-line, I just mean the tackles and the nose tackle. We have edge room in a different grouping.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
We can do them together. Let's do them together.
I grouped D-line. I have D-line and linebacker as but I can sort on the fly.
Let's do it because I can fly like that. Let's do it.
Okay.
So D-line, linebackers, and edge.
We'll put them together. All right. Boom. You want to start? Or you want me to
go for it? I want to listen here.
Yeah, so I really broke this into two categories for myself. So defensive line for me were defensive tackles, nose tackles, and edges, and then I have linebackers, right? So at the defensive line and in the defensive line room, we have Zach Sealer, Chop Robinson, Benicio Jones, Jordan Phillips, or Jalen Phillips. I can't read my own writing. Nope, Jordan Phillips. I can read my own writing.
Yeah.
Jordan Phillips, yep. Zeke Biggers and Benito Jones. I am very high on this position room. This is, in my opinion, it's got me salivating. It really does.
A slab of beef is what it is.
I mean, we have everything you could want in a defensive line in the NFL. We have Zach Sealer, who I think is a stud. Yeah. I mean, an absolute stud. We have Chop Robinson coming off a very, 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 very promising rookie year, right? You could see the progression live. You could see it at every game. He was working on something and getting better. Yeah. Kenneth Grant, I think, is a monster. This was one of the three players that I was banging the table for the entire draft process. I think Kenneth Grant fits in perfectly next to Zach Sealer. And this is how high I am on him. And this is not me living in the moment and trying to use my feels to make my judgment and snap. No, I think Kenneth Grant will be better than Wilkins ever was by year two.
Big possibility. Yep.
By year two. I'm not saying in year one.
Sure.
I think he's going to be phenomenal in year one next to Sealer, assuming everyone stays healthy. But I think he will have more of an impact in the first 2 years, and if he stays with us for the rest of his career, for however long than Christian Wilkins ever did. And I love Christian Wilkins. That is not a slight on Wilkins by any stretch. But we're talking about a defensive lineman that is big in every way you could imagine, that is fast, that is smart, that is angry, that is aggressive, that is just everything you want in a player. And the crazy part is most draft analysts, if any of you watched the pre-draft, everyone was classifying him as a nose tackle. Mm-hmm. I don't think so. I think he's a 3-tech, in my opinion.
He can play it.
He can play every position on the line, including edge. Yep. He did it in college. And if you watch Michigan, I think at times, I'd say probably close to 50% of the games, he was the best defensive lineman on the field. And that was with Mason Graham.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how good this guy is. He's got all the potential in the world. Now, whether he lives up to it and does the right things, that's on him. Who the hell knows? But man, I am salivating about him next to Sealer. Jordan Phillips. I had a third round grade on him. Dude.
Yeah.
I had a third round grade on him.
Yep, I had him going at the end of the third.
And we got him in the fifth. Insanity to me.
I did not think he would be there in the fifth round. In fact, when we traded off some players, I was like, well, there goes Jordan Phillips.
Yep.
I thought for sure. So. And
I'll tell you what, man, this guy, he's got a wrestling background. He was a very good, very, very good wrestler, which I think is amazing. He's built like a bowling ball, but tall and fast, right? I mean, I know that contradicts each other. He's more of a nose tackle, in my opinion, than anything else, which is great. I think with the pieces that we have, it really allows, with Zeke Biggers too. I mean, I don't know if Zeke will make the team as a 7th round pick, but Zeke's a bowling ball of a human being, right?
So I mean, he's really strong.
He is. He certainly is, right? And Benito Jones coming back, I think, is also really good depth. Neil Farrell coming, returning player, I think he's really good depth. This room reminds me of very Philadelphia Eagles-esque, where you can just, okay, guys, whatever 3 or 4 on the field, give me 130%. I need you to do it for 5 plays. And we're going to take all of you out. We're going to put 3 or 4 more in, and I need you to do it for 5 plays. And we're going to take those guys and put them back in. And it's just this constant churning of strong power, angry aggressiveness that is going to destroy your offensive line. It's going to wear them down so that in third and fourth quarters, we're winning games.
Yep, I agree.
I gave this room from a defensive line standpoint. So that's edges, that's defensive tackles and nose tackles and everything. I gave it an A-. Right now, granted, I classify both Bradley Chubbs and Jalen Phillips as linebackers, even though they do play a lot of edge, hybrid, whatever. But I have them as linebackers.
Yeah, that's fine.
Do you want me to go over linebackers and then turn it over to you?
Yeah, let's do linebackers. Yep. For the linemen, for D linemen, I'm definitely solid A.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at with them for sure.
Yeah, and I could easily be persuaded to make this a solid A.
And it's strange because in the beginning of this offseason, we had nobody.
No.
Nothing.
I know.
And I'm so encouraged with the youth and the quality of players that we've acquired in the draft. It's one of those weird, strange situations where they all could very well contribute heavily.
Oh, absolutely. So, dude, this went from one of our weakest positions to arguably one of the top 2 strongest positions on our team.
Yeah,
in one off season. It's insane.
Yep.
What I would like to see is Zach Sealer get an extension sooner rather than later, but that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother show.
Agree 100% though.
Yep.
Okay. So
linebackers. I absolutely love this room.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Me too.
I mean, absolutely love this room. And I promise you folks, we are not shitting rainbows 24 hours a day on this team. It is about to get really ugly really quick, in my opinion, with other position rooms. But for the linebackers specifically, Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips coming back from injuries. I've watched the workouts videos from Jalen Phillips. This dude is Ivan Drago from Rocky. I mean, I must break you, right? He's so good, right? And then, we have Jordan Brooks, who I think is an all-pro linebacker in the system. I don't think we've had a better linebacker in this building since Dansby.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, since early Carlos Dansby, right? I love that we brought back Terrell Dotson. I think him and Brooks, play super amazing together, very well together.
Bring back Terrell Dotson. He was our best cornerback.
I mean, seriously, you're not wrong, and he still might be.
Led the team in interceptions. You got to be joking me.
Yeah, I mean, his first game, he played. We signed him the following week. He had an interception. Yeah. Crazy.
4 practices later.
Yep. And I will say this: there is some ugly in this room. The Channing Tindalls.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of Quentin Bell. Personally, I think he's a good vet to have on the team as a depth piece. I will say this, though. Willie Gay Jr. and KJ Britt are I think are very underrated signings. in free
KJ Britt
agency.
is a mauler.
Oh, dude.
I like
Willie
that
Gay,
signing.
so good. And I will say, I think Mo Kamara will make more of an impact this year than he did last year.
I do
Right.
too. I think the same thing. I think that this is the year where he's going to kind of step out from the shadows a little bit. He did get injured a little bit last year, and the Dolphins were very careful with him, and that tells me that they like him. I can't wait to see what he can do this year. Same.
And I do think that there is a chance, depending on how many players we carry in all of these rooms, that Cameron Good could make the main roster, the 53. I mean, I think he's got the talent. I don't necessarily know if he will, but depending on how many players we keep in each position room, I could see a chance of him making this team because he's got, before he got injured, he's got ability, right? But the best ability is
availability.
There you go. So I gave the linebacker room as a whole. Now, mind you, I have to put an asterisk on this grade. This is everyone's super healthy.
Right.
Everyone's playing healthy, and this is an A with an asterisk, a solid A with an asterisk, A minus, sorry, with an asterisk. So the defensive line and the linebackers all get the same grade for me. I mean, that's better than it was last year, like by far.
Yeah.
I can tell you that it gets a lot worse going forward.
Okay, so we've done D-line, we've done linebacker.
Well, what would you do? What would you give the linebacker room?
Oh, for the linebacker room, I went B+, but that's just because I didn't want to have everything say A.
No, of course.
Point. But B+, A-, that's more than fair. And like I said, they are worthy of that ranking right now. I'm excited for this season. I can't wait to see what Anthony Weaver does with the edge / linebackers on this team.
Yeah.
With the interior linemen that we have, our edge rushers are going to be able to destroy people.
Yeah.
So
I mean, think about the rotations that you can put together with the players that we have on the defensive line and in the linebacker room.
Unreal.
Right? I mean, if this defensive front seven lives up to the lofty expectations, this could be a top 5 unit, a top 5 front seven in the NFL. Mm-hmm. That's how good their potential is.
Yep. Okay, so we have 2 position rooms left to cover. This is where This is where we got to take a deep breath. What I'd like to do is I'd like to address the not as bad situation first. So we'll talk about safety.
Okay.
And then we'll jump into the absolute, oh my goodness, what the hell are we going to do situation in the cornerback
it's
room.
The Titanic at the cornerback room. We're the stupid violinists that are just sinking with the ship, man.
All right, so the safety room. Moving to safety.
Mm-hmm.
We have a need for one veteran safety to join this team, and I feel like if we could just sign Julian Blackmon from the Colts, that's my guy. Yes. I've been pining for him since the season ended. If we could just pick him up, he's even done an interview in Indianapolis saying straight up that he would love to come to Miami.
Of course he would. Who wouldn't?
I want him so bad. He's a scheme fit. He's a good player. Mm-hmm. He's tough. Doesn't miss games. I want him. If we had him,
you've been banging that name on your show for quite some time too.
Mm-hmm. If we had him, I would be more than happy with our safety room. The safety room is not a great situation right now because we do need another veteran, but I am happy with the players we've added. It's just not enough. That's my issue.
Yeah.
It's just not enough right now. We have Ife Melifonwu, a good addition. We were talking about him earlier.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely has the ability to play any aspect on the back end of this game.
He does.
I love that you said his Swiss Army knife. That's a perfect definition for what he is.
Yeah, he's a Dollar General Minka Fitzpatrick.
Absolutely, that's perfect. Ashton Davis, the guy he's a ball hawk. Ashton Davis
he's a missile.
If we could get to a position where we don't have to have him start, if we could just have him in situationally where he doesn't get exhausted. And that's something you see with Ashton Davis. He plays with such intensity that if he's out there too long, he does get gassed and he does start to make mistakes. But he has the ability to be a game changer, and I would love to have him third and long situations, things like that, where he can just float. I would love to have that for him. But go ahead. Tell me what you think a little bit.
Yeah, look, I'm going to put the cart before the horse. I gave this room a C.
Okay.
Straight C. Very average, right? Which is not horrible, all things considered, right? I mean, right. So just a straight C. You're an average student. Congratulations. Here's your diploma. Go figure it out, stupid.
That report card's not going on the fridge, though.
No, it's not. But you know what? That's okay. At least you graduated. That's all that matters, right? Anyways, sorry, that one hit a little close to home. I think I could see a world, and there's a player on this team that's not Ifeatu Melifonwu, who I'm actually a big fan of. I don't think he's a star. I don't think he's a number one safety in this league.
Sure.
Unfortunately for our team, he might have to be, unless we make another move. But I'd say I'm going to approach this conversation as if we're not making another addition to this room. Now, I do agree with you. Blackman on this team would be phenomenal. Him and Melifonwu, sign me up.
Yep.
Right. But let's go into the assumption we're not.
Okay.
We're not going to sign him, or we can't sign him, or we won't sign him, or whatever the case is. There's a gentleman in this room that had a phenomenal offseason last year.
Yes.
And got injured.
Uh-huh.
Patrick McMorris.
Yep.
Mr. In my opinion. Exactly. And criminally undrafted, by the way.
Yep.
In my opinion, if the season were to start tomorrow, it would be
to start him.
Patrick McMorris and Melifonwu starting.
Yep.
And Ashton Davis coming in playing significant minutes off the bench.
Absolutely.
Right? That is perfect. How I would structure this safety room if it started tomorrow. I actually don't mind the Dante Trader Jr. pick. I think it was slightly a reach. I had a 6th round grade on him. Okay. We took him in the 5th. I think that was more of a reactionary because there was a run on kind of the late 2 third tier safeties that were going on in the draft at that point. And so you that was a panic draft pick in my opinion. Yeah. But I mean, I think he belongs in the league. I think he's got the talent.
Yeah.
I think he's got the mean streak and the smarts to play the position. He just needs to put it all together. And he needs to keep his mouth shut. I don't know much, admittedly, about John Saunders Jr., the undrafted free agent.
So I'm not really talk about for him.
Yeah. But I think the safety room is a little bit better than we all think it is.
I agree.
Even if we don't add somebody, I gave it a C. It's average. Yep. I mean, that's what it is. It's average. It's not a D. It's not an F. So it's not doom and gloom. I think, but like I said, not to beat the dead horse with a stick, I think if the season were to start tomorrow and we did not add anyone else, Patrick McMorris and Melifonwu would be starting.
Yeah.
Patrick McMorris would be the free safety. Melifonwu would be the strong safety, and Ashton Davis would come in and relief to either one of them. Yeah. That is how I would play this, right? Play this room as it currently stands.
And before we jump into the bane of existence,
oh boy,
I want to mention that our cornerbacks and our safety room is the weakest positions on the team. And before we do cornerback, I just want to say that we need to keep in mind as a fan base that this year we're going to be depending on our defensive line and our linebacking core to help save our back end of this defense.
Yeah.
They're going to have to. And I see it happening with Anthony Weaver. He's got some things up his sleeves to run this, and I like what he's doing. So,
I think that is a really, really good point because I think, let's say worst case scenario, we don't add anyone to either of these positional rooms, right? Which I think is criminal. But let's just say we don't. The fact that our front seven has the potential to be as good as it is, I think drastically improves these players because they only have to do their job for 2.5 seconds.
Yeah.
Just don't mess that up. Right. If this was the unit on last year's team, I'd say we're probably picking in the top 7, if I'm being honest. Right. That is how bad this unit, I think, is if we don't have the front 7 that we do as a standalone 2 positional rooms. This is about as bad as you could hope for right now, right? As a whole. Cornerbacks.
Cornerbacks.
I don't want to. Don't make me.
We can make the cornerbacks quick because it's very simple. We just don't have what we need.
I don't want to make it quick. I don't.
Do it.
I need
Hit it.
people to digest this.
Go
right.
for it.
And I think it's important as a fan base that we be their therapist. All right. So everyone grab a couch, grab a Snuggie, grab a pillow, hug your wife, kiss your kids, and buckle in because this stuff's about to get ugly for a little bit. Right. So
Start with the grade.
Yeah. Take a gummy, like do whatever you got to do. Right. I gave this position room a D.
Agreed.
Yeah.
D-
and that's
for
with, and that's with Jalen Ramsey on the roster, who I think shouldn't be on the roster anymore.
Yep.
Right. I think Jalen Ramsey at this point in his career he's no longer a star. I think he's a very, very good player still. However, I'm like Hill. I'm over it. I'm over the antics. I'm over the attitude. Talk about business acumen, right? These are the only props that I will give Jalen Ramsey. Somehow he managed to get traded to the Miami Dolphins from his previous team that struggled. So he wasn't happy. So he was like, I want to go to Miami. After Miami had the number one offense, he comes to Miami, and in 18 months, I think it's 18 months, he gets 2 contract restructures and one contract restructure and a contract extension. Talk about hate the player, but got to respect the game.
Yeah.
That being said, I think he needs to be gone, and I think he will be gone. I don't think I don't think week 1, even preseason game 1, I don't think he's on the roster.
No,
I don't.
Yeah, he's gone.
I could see a scenario in which he is here until, June-ish, right?
Sure.
And that would be worst case scenario, but I don't think he's on this team at the end of the season either way.
Yeah.
And after that, it's a bunch of holy shit. Pardon my French, right?
No,
it's, Kader Kohu, I think, is the best of the bunch right now.
Definitely a nickel.
Outside of Ramsey, right?
Yeah.
And he is a nickel, right? I think Ethan Bonner is a fast white guy that can play cornerback. I was big on him last year. I think he's got the talent. He just needs to stay healthy. He's been injury riddled his entire career, both in college and in the pros. But I think he does have somewhat. I don't think he's necessarily a starter in this league, but he has quality depth.
I think he has the ability to be a good rotational player this year.
For sure.
He can stay healthy, right? Yeah.
Yep. Storm Duck, outside of having the best name in football, I think we can all agree with that.
Yes.
Right now and I have it written here, unfortunate starter, because I don't think he's ready to be a starter. He showed some really good stuff. He showed some really bad stuff.
Yeah.
Cam Smith, it's how do I say? You know what? I'm not going to sugarcoat this.
Hold on.
It's shitter. Okay, go ahead.
Before we do Cam Smith, let me just touch a little bit on Storm Duck because
go.
I understand we don't want Storm Duck to be our starter, but Storm Duck is my guy, and I want to say every time that man touched the field this year, he got better. Mm-hmm. So while I don't think he's ready to be a starter, Storm Duck is one of those players that we need to keep in the rotation, and he definitely has these flashes of brilliance and toughness that I see every game that he plays.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not a starter.
He's a dog, right? For a team that needed where we added dog mentalities for in air quotes across the team. This is one that we already had on the roster. This man plays possessed at times and is not afraid, right?
Okay, we can go Cam Smith now. Sorry, I love Storm Duck.
So do I. And please understand that my assessment of him as an unfortunate starter is not an indictment of him. I mean, he was undrafted last year, right? I mean, look, it's the fact that he played as much as he did is both a testament to him and a testament to how bad our situation was and how injured we were.
Round pick. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Speaking of second round picks.
Speaking of second round picks, I always feel the need to preface how much I say I hate Cam Smith with. I actually liked the pick. I thought he was the best cornerback in that draft where we drafted him at that point in the draft. Mm-hmm. And I thought he has, and it's not even, I think he has the talent. For some reason, he just can't figure it out. I really do think that getting benched and put into the hell was that defense? Our defensive coordinator, if you have Fangio's doghouse, really messed with his head, right? And I think this is a perfect example of a player that if it doesn't work here, we could see him go to another team and be a serious starter for them, right? And that's unfortunately that's for the player. Unfortunately, I think that's what it'll take. as a Dolphins fan, it's unfortunate because you don't want to see a player with his potential walk out the door and do well somewhere else. But I think for him to flourish as a player, he's going to have to be cut. He's going to go to another team, and that team is going to get the best version of him, right? I think that's just how it's going to be, right? Yeah. Isaiah Johnson, I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah, I like Isaiah Johnson.
I'm a big fan of, right? Artie Burns, okay, we signed. I was not a big fan of his. I think he's a depth piece at best. Yeah. He's a camp body at, yeah. Mm-hmm. Jason Marshall Jr., there's a lot to like on his film, right? 5th round draft pick this year, pick 150.
Yeah, room to grow.
There's room. If we play it right with him, we could have something. Yeah. Not a regular starter, but a very quality rotational piece at some point in his career, right? And then that's it.
Yeah,
that's
definitely a need for some cornerback.
Yeah, Jason Mitri and BJ Adams. Okay, sure, whatever. Let's mention their names because they're NFL players. Congratulations, but I don't know. Yeah, there's not a lot here to be optimistic about, even with Jalen Ramsey in the room.
Jason Mitri, I do like, but he is extremely raw, and he needs a lot more development to be able to make a difference.
Yeah, go down the list. You can say that exact sentence about 6 players on our team, right? Out of 8 starting cornerbacks, or out of 8 cornerbacks. That's terrifying, right?
Yep.
This is going to be, in my opinion, the number 1 offseason need.
Yep.
Next year. Right. Now, here's the fun caveat that we get to do as content creators. There are avenues in which to fix this very quickly. Right. Greg Newsome, for example.
Sure.
Right. There's Asante Samuel Jr. I think there's still something left in his body with his talent. Insert other free agent. I think there are ways in which you can improve this even slightly to go from like a D, which I have for this room, to even a C plus
quickly,
which is quickly. Yeah. Within weeks. Right. So, I'm not crucifying the cornerback room yet, but I'm sharpening the nails. Right.
Yeah.
So when preseason game 1 comes, if this is the room that we're going into that season with, we're in trouble, and we better hope to God and pray to everything that'll listen that our front 7 is what we think it's going to be.
Yeah.
Because if not, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be, in NBA terms, we're going to be a lottery team.
Right? We're going to be up that creek that everybody knows the name of without a paddle.
Yep. Exactly. I could see us being like Cincinnati Bengals, right? Where we're putting up 48 points a game, but we're losing because the other team scored 49.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, so with that defense that we just talked about, what do we rank our defense at? What grade do we give them? I go B- for the entire group.
I went C plus.
Okay, so we're close enough.
Yep. And unfortunately, it's not an indictment on the front 7. This is a true indictment on the back half, right? We have a D and a C minus for safeties and cornerbacks. Yep. And we have an A, a B, and a B plus, I think, for linebackers, defensive line, or whatever the case is. But so C plus, right, if you will, for.
Okay, so Josh, now that we've looked at these individual rooms, offense and defense, we take a look at the team as a whole. What grade do you give us right now? I'll say that right now, as a whole, position-wise and everything else, I'm taking this team at a B plus max.
Same. I'm a tried and true B based. If you do all the math, I'm a tried and true B for this team right now.
Which I think we're above average. I think that's a true B. That means above average, doing well as a whole. Now, Dolphins fans, we do have needs, but we need to look at the big picture here, and that's what we're trying to do in this discussion: is look at big picture while looking at the micro. To take a look at the macro, and sitting here looking at this team as a whole, we are above average. We can win now. It's just a matter of filling out a couple small little crinkles.
And re-ironing your entire wardrobe in the cornerback room.
Yes.
If we're using that analogy.
Cornerback,
right?
Yes.
And I will say, actually, I think if I forgot to include special teams, so I'm at a B plus.
Yeah,
right, because I have an A minus. I have an A minus for the special teams.
That's
unit.
true.
I think Stonehouse and Sanders and the undrafted rookie long snapper that we have because we cut Blake Ferguson.
Yep.
I think Stonehouse and Sanders are studs.
And our special teams coordinator actually knows what he's doing. He's not great, but he's way better than what we had. So
yeah. Who? What's his name? I can't. I'm like blanking on his name.
He was
Sorry.
He was from the Titans, and I can't remember his name.
Don't mean to put you on the spot. Let me look it up real quick.
Yeah, you do it. Yeah, because you're faster than me. But yeah, he's better off. We're better off with him for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Danny Crossman was horrible.
Yes, he was absolutely.
Is it Ackerman?
Yeah, Ackerman. There we go.
Craig or Aukerman? I don't know. Aukerman.
Yes.
Yep.
So definitely, I forgot about the special teams. Yeah, definitely an improved situation there.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing how this team
field
performs
position
in training room, and yeah, it's all going to be good. So we've ranked the team, every position. Just briefly tell me what your expectations are this year for this team. What do you expect?
You're talking about from like a record standpoint?
Record?
Oh boy, put me on the spot.
Give me a record prediction. I'll give mine too.
Why don't you go first?
Okay. So record prediction wise, once again, this is all fluid, ladies and gentlemen, so don't hold this over our heads. But right now, gun to my head, if I had to pick a record for this team, knowing what I know and hoping what I hope.
I like it.
I'm going 10-7. 10-7 and a playoff berth.
I had 11-6.
Nice. I like yours better.
Again, keep in mind, I know there's half of the Dolphins fans that are this fan base are like, you guys are crazy.
Yeah, that's
11-6 because, I'm very high on a lot of the position rooms on the offensive side of the ball. I think we added a lot. I think the offensive line is going to make a truly drastic difference to the offense as a whole. Mm-hmm. And our front seven has the potential to be one of the top units in the league. Top 2 units in the league, right? If you count linebackers and defensive line as 2 different units. Worried about the safety and the cornerback room, but I think with the front 7 that we have, and the players that we have and the players that we did have last year that are returning are going to hopefully take a leap forward. This team has all of the reasons to win 11 games.
Yeah,
all of them. We've seen it. We've seen the potential of this team. If this team gets hurt again, we're picking top 5. It's that kind of big a swing. Sure. If Tua somehow stays healthy, and I think this team goes as Tua goes, I think we can easily win 11 games. I really do. And I think the gap between us and Buffalo has closed a little bit. I still think Buffalo's best team in the AFC East, and that tastes like vinegar saying it. And I'm sorry to all those Dolphins fans that are watching. But I think we've made a gap. I think Buffalo has taken a step back. Mm-hmm. Right, and will continue to take a step back. And I think you mentioned this on our podcast the other day, because once Josh Allen's money kicks in, it's going to limit some of the things that they can do. Right now, unfortunately, they crushed the draft, which sucks. But I do think Miami is. I do think we have the potential to win 11 games. I could see anything from 11 games to 5 games. So it's fluid.
Yeah. So from an outlook perspective and what I kind of am going to be looking for this season, I'm not looking for a record this year. I'm not looking for personally, I'm not looking for 13 wins, 12 wins. Mm-hmm. What I'm looking at is more from a personal perspective. What I'm seeing is I want to see an identity change in this team. I want to see individual attitudes coming together to form something more special than what we've seen before. And you don't need a bunch of talent to do it. What you need is like-minded players with like-minded attitudes and motivation. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm going to be watching for this year. I don't care if we lose a game. I want someone on the other team to get punched in the mouth repeatedly during that game. If they're going to lose, they're walking off the field with a bloody nose. That's what I want.
Yeah. I want 1990s football.
Right. That's what I'm hoping for. I think
I'm tired.
I think that if we can go through this and look at our team and go, I'm proud of them. I don't care if they lost. I'm proud of how they played. I want that. That's what I want.
Yeah. I would like to see, I think really what's going to dictate the season is equal parts players living up to their potential, the health of this team, right? We've been one of the most injured teams over the last 5-6 years. I mean, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
I think if we can finally, exercise the Indian burial ground that Hard Rock was built on, hopefully we can stay healthy.
The curse
right.
is
But
real.
I do think this also speaks to, we need our coaching staff to be the best version of itself. Mm-hmm. We need Mike McDaniel to not be bullish and calling the screenplays over and over and over and over again. We need Mike McDaniel to not be bullish and stubborn in his craft, to think that his scheme is going to, outlast everyone. He needs to make both in-game adjustments, and I need to see our coach do halftime adjustments that he just frankly has not been good at for his time as a head coach. And I think if those things fall into place and he lets his coaches coach, speaking of macro versus micro, focus as a head coach, focus on the macro, right? Call your plays, but focus on the macro. Put the trust in the coaches that you hired.
Yes.
To coach. Mm-hmm. Stop micromanaging, because you can see him on the sideline. He's talking. I mean, I get it. I'm not a professional football player. I played high school football, right? That's the extent of my football knowledge, outside of watching a bunch of film and pretending to know what I'm talking about. But, I think this team goes as those three pieces of the pie go: health, progression in skill, right? So take that next step wherever you were last year. Take that half step or that full step into the next phase of your career, and coaching and coaches being coaches, right? Do the right thing. Challenge when you're supposed to. Stop wasting timeouts when you're not, calling random timeouts because you can't get the play in. And Tua's sitting there with his hand on his helmet, still waiting for a call when there's 3 seconds left on the clock. And now you're having to burn 2 timeouts in the span of 3 plays because you can't get your shit together.
Yep.
Like that kind of, just like we expect, and I'm sorry to go on a rant here, but just like we expect our players to take steps forward, to learn from their mistakes, to watch film and get better at their craft, we have to hold the coaching staff to the same standards.
Sure. Yep. I agree. That's a good point. And so here we sit, about to kick off with some OTAs and start watching these players come into the building and start moving their way towards the beginning of the season. It's an exciting time of year, and I'm super excited for the possibilities of what this season is going to bring. Josh, thanks for coming on.
Pleasure is mine, man. I had a blast.
That was a lot of fun. We talked about a lot, so
yeah, we did.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait to have you on again. I think it's going to have to happen now. Let's see. There'll be plenty of time to talk about that later, but I do want to have you on again. Anything else?
Make it a regular thing, man. You'll be a guest on our show. I'll be a guest on your show. Definitely. Let's make it a regular thing.
Anything else you want to add before we get off out of here?
Yeah, shameless plug, if I may. Right?
Absolutely, do it.
If you liked anything I had to say, come check myself out with my fellow co-host Anthony, Keith, and Taylor over at the Phins Forecast on YouTube. We have weekly shows. We do deep dives. We do. We're about to get into the throes of the off season, where we're actually going to be doing the same exercise we just did here, but over multiple shows, where we're diving into each position room in vivid detail, going over last 5-year stats and talking about projections and doing all kinds of fun stuff, and diving into the coaching staff and all what they bring to the table. Check us out if you're in the mood for some additional Dolphins content. But I cannot thank you enough for having me, man. This has been an absolute blast.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime. Like I said, I've said it before, there are certain channels that I like to watch a lot, and when I found you guys' channel, I enjoyed the first live stream I ever watched. So, and
thanks. You make me a better podcaster.
Good programming.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right, Dolphins fans, we are going to get out of here. Thank you, each and every one of you, for watching. Make sure you go check out Phins Forecast. They're on YouTube. They're on Facebook. Very awesome channel. A lot of interactive discussions, and they also have a lot of information to give. They do a lot of research. It's good stuff. Go check them out. Make sure, if you haven't subscribed to either one of our channels, Make sure you subscribe. Throw a like down. Stay hopeful, Dolphins Nation, if you can. And we'll talk to you guys later.
Fin, baby.